you did, but both Stefanski and Mike McDaniel are certainly on the hot seat. They are now at the top of the next coach to be fired list after Bill Callahan got canned in Tennessee. So do you envision a world where the loser of this game on Sunday could be without their head coach come Tuesday? Could the loser of this game get fired? Is it at that level?
I think it's more likely that Mike McDaniel would get fired than Kevin Stefanski. Even though I don't know what Jimmy Haslam's thinking. It's felt
that I saw a coach get a vote of confidence and get fired within the calendar year.
Yeah.
A lot of times it happens within the month.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
In fact,
the vote of confidence is sometimes a bad thing.
Well, but no, listen.
It's sometimes like if you
media,
have to say something, you know something underneath
in
is
sports
happening.
media, it's called the kiss of death. Come here, let me kiss your cheek.
Yeah.
That is the kiss of death.
Fredo, don't get kissed.
It happens. It happens a lot more than you'd think. And all that being said, I do think Stfansky gets the...
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. Cleveland is on fire right now. And I don't mean the good kind of fire. I mean absolute chaotic dumpster fire energy that you only see when a franchise is hanging by a thread. You've got reports flying left and right. You've got Kevin Stefanski's name being dragged through the mud. You've got Jimmy Haslam making headlines for all the wrong reasons. And in the middle of all of this, the Cleveland Browns are just days away from a must-win game against the Miami Dolphins. Now let's be clear, this isn't your typical coach on the hot seat story. We've all heard those before. This is different. This is ugly. Because when people inside the league start whispering about jealousy, about locker rooms being split, about owners pulling the plug at the worst possible time, that's when you know something seismic is happening. That's when you know we're not just talking about X's and O's. We're talking about survival. Think about it. When was the last time you saw a team allegedly ready to move on from their head coach right before one of the biggest games of the season? You don't do that unless things are completely broken. And right now, that's exactly what it feels like in Cleveland. Broken trust, broken leadership, broken direction. And if you're a Browns fan, this is more than just a headline. It's deja vu. It's another chapter in the same painful book that's been written over and over again. Owners meddling, coaches losing grip, players caught in the middle, media turning every small slip into a bombshell. We've been here before. Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens, you name it. And every single time, the promise of stability gets crushed under the weight of dysfunction. But here's why this particular storm matters more than the others. Because the Browns aren't just staring down the Dolphins. They're staring down the future. This game isn't just about one win or one loss. This is about whether the Browns still have an identity worth fighting for. Whether they can still convince fans that there's a plan, a vision, something to believe in. Because if they lose this battle, not just on the field, but in the headlines, in the owner's box, in the hearts of the fans, then it's not just Stfansky who's done. It's the culture. It's the credibility. The timing of this chaos makes it even more dramatic. Coaches don't usually get fired mid-season unless things are catastrophic. And yet here we are, with insiders hinting that the loser of Sunday's game might not even have a job on Monday. That's wild. That's unheard of. But that's exactly why everyone's glued to this story, because when the whispers turn into open speculation, you know the ground is shifting. So let me put it like this. The Cleveland Browns aren't just fighting Miami this weekend. They're fighting themselves. They're fighting the perception that they'll always be that franchise that can't get out of its own way. They're fighting the ghosts of every bad decision, every wasted season, every laugh from rival fans who expect them to implode. And that's why this moment matters. Because what happens next won't just define Stfansky. It won't just define Jimmy Haslam. It could define the entire direction of the franchise heading into the next era. This is bigger than one game, bigger than one season. This is about the identity of the Cleveland Browns. And here's the kicker. If you think this story is just about football, you're dead wrong. Because waiting in the shadows of this chaos is a name that changes everything. A name that could blow this entire thing wide open. And that's where we need to go next. Kevin Stefanski is coaching with a target on his back, and everybody in Cleveland can feel it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Job security here is a punchline. With Jimmy Haslam, stability lasts exactly as long as the headlines do, which is to say, not long. And that's the whole tension right now. Stfansky's trying to run a system, build an identity, stack good weeks into good months. Meanwhile, the owner is staring past Sunday, past December, straight into a loud, shiny reboot. New faces, new buzz, new promises. That's not a partnership. That's a collision course. Here's where the frustration kicks in. Stfansky's football world is timing, rhythm offense, clean operation, win on the margins, trust the call sheet. He wants structure. He wants discipline. He wants players to fit the system. Haslam's world is different. It's billboard thinking. It's splash hires and splash picks and splash pressers. If you're an owner trying to sell hope, a quiet 17-13 win doesn't move jerseys. A headline does. So every Monday, while the coaching staff is grinding third down self-scout, the building upstairs is gaming out optics. That gap, football versus fireworks, is the gap that swallows franchises. And we've watched this movie before. Remember the Hugh Jackson years and those tanking allegations? Whether you bought them or not, the stink of losing on purpose never really left the building. It trained this city to read between the lines. So when fans hear vote of confidence, they don't relax. They flinch. Because in this league, the vote of confidence is the kiss of death. Owners say it when they need a quiet week. Then they read the next bad headline and pull the trap door. Cleveland's lived that cycle. Too many times. Stfansky's defenders will say, look, he's won games with backup quarterbacks. He's kept the train on the tracks through chaos. He's professional. He's steady. All true. But Haslam's calculus isn't just wins and losses. It's narrative. Does this coach sell the future? Does this brand feel hot again? Is there a face you can put on the billboard when that new era kicks off? And if the answer isn't a screaming yes, the seat heats up fast. That's why every press conference line matters. That's why every red zone call becomes a trial. In a normal building, a field goal on 4th and 3 is a debate. In this building, it's Exhibit A. I'm combative about this because it insults the football part of me. You hired a coach to build a culture. Now you're mad it doesn't look like a trailer for a summer blockbuster. You asked for a plan. Now you want a shortcut. You can't demand identity and then panic when it takes time. But I'm analytical enough to admit something else. Ownership wins these battles, always. The guy holding the pen writes the future, and right now the handwriting feels like a countdown. So here we are. The same crossroads this city knows too well. Stfansky coaching the team he has, Haslam chasing the team he wants. One man diagramming plays, one man diagramming headlines. And this week, there's no more middle ground. Either Stfansky drags this roster into a clean, convincing performance that forces everyone to breathe, or Haslam does what Haslam does and writes him out of Cleveland's future. If you want to know which way it's leaning, watch Sunday's sideline, watch the body language, and listen for that familiar phrase after the game. If you hear full confidence, brace yourself, because around here, we know exactly what comes next. Here's the truth. The center of this entire storm isn't Kevin Stefanski. It's not even Jimmy Haslam. The real flashpoint is a name that's already bigger than Cleveland itself. Shedeur Sanders. You can feel it. You can hear it in the whispers. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about hype, about headlines, about the kind of buzz that owners salivate over. For the fans, Shedeur represents hope, a fresh start, a new face, a quarterback who could finally give this franchise relevance again. For Haslam, he represents dollar signs, jerseys flying off shelves, national media spotlight, a marketing machine attached to one of the most famous last names in football. But for Stfansky, Shedeur Sanders represents a nightmare. Because here's the conflict. Stfansky has built his system around timing and rhythm, quick decisions, clean execution. And Shedeur, for all his talent, plays like a gunslinger. He holds the ball, he takes sacks, he extends plays. Sometimes it's magic, sometimes it's disaster. That style doesn't fit what Stfansky wants. And that's the problem. Because when an owner falls in love with a player and the coach doesn't, only one survives. That's why this situation feels so combustible. Stfansky can't come out and say, "I don't believe in Shedeur," but the whispers are already out there. Word around the league is that he's not sold. And meanwhile, Haslam is already looking at the bigger picture. The new dome coming in 2029, the rebrand, the season ticket campaigns. And you better believe that the idea of Shedeur Sanders' son walking into Cleveland with cameras, media, and national attention, that's a dream scenario for an owner who's desperate to change the story. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a prospect. He's a brand. He's a headline waiting to happen. He's primetime junior. And if you don't think that matters in today's NFL, you haven't been paying attention. We've seen this before. Look at what Joe Burrow did for Cincinnati. Look at what Lamar did for Baltimore. One young quarterback can flip the entire perception of a franchise overnight, and Shedeur has that kind of power. But here's the kicker. Hype is a double-edged sword, because for every fan who sees Shedeur as the savior, there are football minds who see the flaws, the sacks, the decision-making, the fit. That's why this isn't just a debate about talent. It's a power struggle. Stfansky fighting for the right to coach his system, Haslam dreaming about star power, and in the middle, a fan base that just wants to believe again. So make no mistake, this isn't just about Sunday's game. This is about a civil war inside the organization. One man betting on structure, one man betting on flash. And as history tells us, when those two collide in the NFL, the coach almost always loses. And that's why the Shedeur Sanders effect is so dangerous. Because it's not just the future on the line, it's the present. It's Stfansky's career, and it's Cleveland's identity. The question is simple. Does this team belong to Kevin Stefanski? Or is it already being handed to Shedeur Sanders before he even takes a snap? Kevin Stefanski is living under a microscope right now, and the lens has never been harsher. Every decision he makes feels like it's one play away from becoming front-page drama. Every sack, every stalled drive, every red zone failure, it's not just a football mistake anymore. It's Exhibit A in the case against him. And that's the brutal reality of coaching in Cleveland at this moment. Your margin for error doesn't exist. Fans feel it, media feels it, and you better believe the locker room feels it too. Whispers travel fast in the NFL, and when the noise outside gets loud enough, it creeps inside. Players start questioning leadership. Assistants start hedging their futures. Suddenly, what should be a football team becomes a pressure cooker. That's where Stfansky is right now, walking into every game like it's a trial, with the jury waiting in the press box. And the Dolphins matchup, it's not just another Sunday, it's a breaking point, because the storylines are already written. One coach leaves with relief. The other might leave with a pink slip. Think about that. How often do we talk about two teams at the bottom of the league, and yet the stakes feel this high? That's how toxic things have gotten in Cleveland and Miami. This isn't just a game, it's survival. The pressure builds because Stefanski's past is being used as a weapon against him. Critics bring up the blown leads, the inconsistency, the safe play calling when the moment demanded risk. All those old wounds get reopened the second things start to unravel. That's what happens when trust is thin. Everything negative gets amplified and nothing positive sticks. Stfansky can string together a solid drive, but if it ends in a field goal instead of a touchdown, it feeds the same narrative. He's not the guy. And here's the urgency. Jimmy Haslam is watching all of this with the patience of a man staring at a stopwatch. He's not thinking about long-term culture or slow rebuilds. He's thinking about optics, headlines, pressure points. And if the headlines after this game scream, Browns collapse again, he won't sit on his hands. One loss could turn whispers into front-page certainty, and certainty in Cleveland usually means someone's out the door. So Stfansky stands at the edge of the cliff. One step forward, maybe he buys himself time. One stumble, and he might be the next name on the Haslam firing list. The media heat is already turned to maximum, the locker room is watching, and the fan base is holding its breath. This isn't about schemes anymore. This is about whether Kevin Stefanski can survive the storm or whether the Dolphins game becomes the final nail in his Cleveland coffin. And the scariest part? The decision might already be made. Cleveland is standing at a crossroads and there's no middle lane left to hide in. On one side, you've got Kevin Stefanski, the steady hand, the structured system, the coach who still believes football is won with discipline and detail. On the other side, you've got Shedeur Sanders and the storm that comes with him. Hype, headlines, and a wave of national attention this franchise hasn't felt in decades. The choice isn't just about X's and O's anymore. It's about identity. It's about what kind of team the Cleveland Browns want to be in this next era, and that's why this prediction matters. I don't think Cleveland is chasing wins anymore. I think they're chasing relevance. In today's NFL, star power sells. Look at Cincinnati before Burrow. Look at Philadelphia before Jalen Hurts broke out. Look at Buffalo before Josh Allen turned into Superman. These weren't just good quarterbacks. They became faces of the league. They gave their franchises credibility, and Cleveland knows it desperately needs that same shot of adrenaline. That's why I believe this Sunday could end up being remembered as the first page of the Shedeur Sanders era. Not because he's walking onto the field right now, but because the decision the Browns make in the aftermath of this Dolphins game could change everything. If they lose ugly, if the offense sputters, if Stfansky looks overmatched again, Jimmy Haslam will see all the justification he needs to move on. And when he does, the board clears for the future he's already dreaming about. A shiny new staff, a bold new quarterback, and a stadium full of fans buying into a fresh start. Now, I'm not saying it's the smartest pure football move. Stfansky has flaws, but he's not incompetent. Shedeur Sanders has talent, but he's not flawless. But this league isn't just about pure football. It's about optics, business, and energy. And the Browns, for all their history, are starving for something, anything, that makes them feel alive again. Shedeur Sanders can do that. His name, his story, his connection to Dion. That's bigger than a box score. That's a marketing dream, and ownership knows it. So here's my prediction. If Cleveland loses to Miami, it won't just be another mark in the loss column. It'll be the start of a shift. The whispers will get louder. The speculation will take over. And before long, we'll be talking about a franchise that chose fireworks over foundation, hype over patience. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what this city needs right now. The Browns can limp forward with Stfansky, grinding through another lost season, or they can blow it up, gamble everything, and try to sell hope with Shedeur Sanders as the face of the future. Knowing Jimmy Haslam, my bet is on the gamble. And if I'm right, don't be shocked if Sunday isn't just a game. It's the spark that lights the fuse. So I'll leave you with this. Do you think the Browns should stay the course with Stfansky? Or is it finally time to embrace the chaos and lean into the Shedeur Sanders era? Let me know in the comments because this debate is just getting started.